Well, hi, bitches. Painting fucking time since the day off. Um, had a few issues already today with painting. I don't clean my airbrushes anywhere near as the amount that I need to. Iwata brushes, real great brushes to paint with, but they are finicky when it comes to cleaning, and they clog up real easy and become little wee bitches, so you got to fully strip them down. I made it nice and shiny though. My other Iwata's looking a wee bit pasty, but it's running fine, so that's alright. So anyway, these are going on to Ross's shells now. You can see I've already done some peeling. I've already peeled and I've already ISO'd as well. Currently I'm using the good old Badger 150 suction feed for my ISO. Works fucking mint. I've got various airbrushes, so I just use whatever when I'm running. I mainly use my HPC for fine line, and I've got an Eclipse there as well, which I use for kind of blasting colour on. So it'll be interesting to see how I put this new Iwata when it comes in. So pretty much when it comes to peeling mask, I use these lovely little curved nosed pointy tipped fucking tweezers. They just work really easily. Much easier to lift mask. You don't have to get to the edge like you do if you're trying to use a blade. You literally just hook in with the tips anywhere on the mask that you want lifted, and you just start pulling. The cool thing is that you can actually lift the mask away from the edges. So for a design like this, where you've got lots of little wee flame licks and stuff that like to be pulled out when they're not supposed to, the tweezers come in real handy, and I can actually just work my way around and lift my way around the actual design, which makes peeling so much easier. Makes doing your geometrical designs a piece of piss as well, because you lift the points back and then you can peel the whole thing off at once. So if you haven't got curved nose tweezers, grab some. The cheapest chips, I think Trade Me, you get for under $10 a pair. They've just been what I've found the easiest way of peeling mask. It keeps all your, when I'm peeling around the flame licks and stuff, so the real tight parts, you guys would have noticed previously that sometimes you can start stretching them off because you haven't cut them properly. So that's where the tweezers come in handy. You can actually do both sides so that you don't end up peeling your tips and getting kind of things falling off when they stick back down again. So painting. So this one, I've already done one of Ross's shells up to this state. So the old black and silver. Probably went a wee bit too heavy on the black. I was having issues with my brush, hence why I cleaned it. But when I peel that off, you'll get a better indication of what it actually looks like. So when I'm shading with black, black on top of silver, I try and go a wee bit lighter than you'd expect, because black is quite a powerful colour. It does show through. And when I've got a design like this, when I'm spraying mainly on the mask, and I'm controlling how the kind of extremities of the spray then lay up on where I want the paint to go. So I'm never spraying a fade with the centre of the spray pattern. I'm always spraying it with the edge. So normally what happens is I'll be trying to point that centre at the actual liquid mask still on the body, and that way it's the controlled overspray that forms that nice kind of misted edge. So pretty much using the Vallejo paints, because that's just what I found works really good. I've used fucking pretty much damn near every brand of paint. I started painting with lacquers, then moved to fast colour acrylics. Fast colour paints, some of them work great, most of them are shit. I've recently tried some of the Pro line. They spray nice. I'm pretty sure Createx is making it for them, so they're the same formula as the Createx and the fast colour. I found the adhesion wasn't the best, hence why I'm kind of sticking with the Vallejo. Of course, you can get it through Mark. Why wouldn't you? And I just like how it sprays. So I'll do a couple of passes and we'll see how it goes. Just clean this bad boy; it's nice and shiny. I don't run a needle tip because I'm forever cleaning the tip from the tip dry, and I tend to leave my my back piece off as well, because I like to, when the guns clog up, I sometimes take the needle in and out a few times and clear them back up again. So when I'm doing fine line stuff, I will water down my paint slightly. You don't want it too thin. You just want to make it so it's atomizing at the pressure that you're running at. So what I mean there is, if you do a quickly spray, you want nice fine mist. You don't want kind of bigger kind of dark splotches going further out, like kind of like dusty looking. So I've got a real sweet setup down here. You guys might have seen the picture I posted up. I've got a twin reg set up with a changeover valve, so I can change from high pressure to low pressure at the flick of a switch. It's just easy. So as soon as I've done lining, I can then go and then I can block colour and then I can go back to lining without having to twist the reg up and down. So doing fine line, I normally spray around at 15 to 20 psi depending on how the paint's flowing, and like I said, a little bit watered down. And you don't want to try and get the depth of colour in the one pass, so it usually takes a couple of passes to get the kind of desired effects. I always start my sprays on a piece of mask as well and then move my way out. It's just the easiest way to do it. And then as you're going, you're trying to do it in nice smooth movements. And you can kind of just add more colour in where you want it. So if I'm wanting to have a bit more of a 3D effect around some bottoms of some flames and stuff, I can quite easily just throw that in. So it's not rocket science. It's just takes a little bit of time to get used to. And like, you don't have to get so, like really close to get the lines you want. If you're spraying more on the mask, you can then kind of get a tight line. You don't have to get right in there. So it gives you a wee bit more kind of leeway when it comes to, as your brush starts working, of course it's going to start to clog up a little bit. And being further away just gives you a little bit more leeway if things start kind of being a bit silly on you. You can quite easily repair things. So I always have a spray pad next to me so I can purge the gun when it gets a wee bit sticky. And forever cleaning the tips because acrylics get tip dry. You can, I did once upon a time make up some homebrew thinners, which was a little bit of mainly water, but with a wee bit of the isopropanol in it, just a little bit. You've got to be careful because it can gum up some paint. A little bit of iso and a bit of glycerin. Glycerin acts as a surfactant, which loosens surface tension, so it can help relieving tip dry. But these days I don't fucking bother as wipe the tips. And if you do a wee bit of a whoopsie, it doesn't really matter. One thing I learnt quickly was that you got to understand that firstly, no one else really can do what we do. So if they kick up a stink, it's like, do it yourself then. They're also a toy car going around a fucking track at, 50 to 100 k's an hour. So no one's really ever going to be looking at it and picking through it with a fine-tooth comb. So, Go down, you bastard. There's some black line work around the flames. And that's really all I'm looking for. The rest is going to be backed with silver, and I'll stick the wee black splatters through it. And if I turn it over, you can kind of see what I mean about spraying more on the mask and using the overspray as a controlled overspray. So I'll carry on with these. I'll press pause on the old fucking dooflung, and once I get them backed up and peel the next layer, you'll see exactly what I mean. So back shortly. Right, so that's my black lining done. This shell I do go a wee bit heavier than sometimes I normally would. It all depends on what your kind of colours over the top are going to be. Since these flames aren't pinstriped, I need to create enough contrast between what the flame's doing and what the background's doing. So since the flame's going to be a really light blue, I needed some good depth of black in there to give it some good contrast. So hence why it's probably a little bit darker than what sometimes I normally wouldn't do. It all depends on what the rest of your shell is doing as well. So this shell becomes quite light. The rear's white with a very slight tinge of blue through it, and the flames are edged with basic blue, and then a bit of white thrown in for good measure. So lots of light colours. So the way shells start to look brighter is purely through contrast. It's not like if you go and throw on all really bright fluoro colours, your shell actually becomes hard to see because you've got no contrast there to make certain colours pop. So whenever I do my designs, I try and design around a darker colour in the background, and then a much brighter colour in the foreground, and that's how they just kind of get that real good pop to them. Next step on Ross's shells is the silver black gets the wee magic fucking spray treatment. All I do, I've got a stash of barbecue skewers that I use for cleaning up and stuff like that, but also mixing paint, but I snap them into smaller bits like this. And since I used to smoke darts, doing the wee dots thing's easy. I literally just dip the thing into the paint, and then I flick my ash pretty much is all I'm doing. And I try and go the same direction that the design is flowing, so I'll never flick the opposite way to the design, and that way that's how you get it looking like that. You've got this nice splatter going the same direction as the car. One thing to note is if you are doing this at a later stage of the paint scheme with you've already got a couple of colours already laid down, be careful with where your rogue splatters go, especially if you've got colours which can kind of bleed through others. So one of the next colours on the shell is actually hot pink. Now hot pink is one of those colours that you would normally kind of look at doing last, but because it has the ability to show through things, I'll be doing it as the next colour. It's got a hot pink pinstripe around the rear part of the car. So you need to take note of what colours have the ability to bleed through other colours. Reds are really bad, so be careful with reds. Reds, I actually fucking hate dealing with reds because red's just fucking red. It's hard to get good depth. I love oranges. Actually, all secondary colours on the colour wheel are real great to use because you can utilise the primary colours to give them good depth. So oranges are real great colours to play with. Purples are really great. Greens are really great. Blues, I have a good selection of blues. There seems to be a lot of different blues available, so you can get good depth blue. But red's just fucking red. If you try and lighten it up, it goes pink. So I've got a nice colour from Golden Colour, which is a dark carmine red, which I use for my reds. And then we'll throw in some basic red, and usually finish off with a light touch of Fluoro Scarlet from Vallejo, which is a fluorescent red. Otherwise I try to stay away from reds. They're just such an obnoxious colour. It's just red. So there's some lovely fucking splatters all on there. You can probably fucking see some of them. Fucking beautiful. And it goes into my fucking lovely box to get dry. So this one here, I've already done one layer of silver. So moving on, I always double hit silver. Silver's one of those colours that seems to still retain quite a translucent colour. Since I've already got the black laid down, I always back silver with black, so I want to make sure that the silver is quite heavy in there before I put on the backing coat, otherwise you get more of a gunmetal colour. So, simple as this. Flick my switch, I'm now on 60 PSI for blasting colour on. Fucking too easy. Sweet. So that's the second layer of that one done. Give these a wee hit with the heat gun. And lay in some silver. So on my first coat I usually go quite heavy with the silver. The second coat's more of just a good luck coat, just to make sure I've got the coverage I want. Sweet, well I'll continue on with this next silver and then back in with black, and then I'll move on to the pink pinstripes to get back to you. Right, I'll show you this before I move on to those pink pins, since I've got silver and black loaded into the gun, starting to work on the lights and grills. So you can see I've done those lower grills already, and moving on to just doing the centre part here. The outside of this grill is actually going to be black because it ties in with the headlight, I think. I may change it in a minute, who knows, I may do it silver. We'll see what fucking happens when I decide. But as you can see, it's pretty finely done, just black and silver. Again, watered down the black till it's nice and thin, and then just real carefully just blasted it in there, give that nice kind of 3D kind of effect. Now I'm about to biff in some window perf for my grills, so I think you guys pretty much already know the dealio with this. So it's this stuff here. Jackson will be very understanding of this stuff since he does sign writing. I'm going to need some more soon, so Jackson, I'm going to hit you up. What I normally do is I blast it with a heat gun. If I've got a fresh piece, brand spanking new, I'll stick it to my jeans or my top a few times just to remove some of the stickiness, because fresh, it is a bit too sticky, and when you're dealing with nice fine shit like lights and grills, you don't want it peeling up your fucking mask. And the good thing about it is, since it's vinyl, you give it a wee touch with the heat gun and it actually conforms to the shape. So you can actually get it lined up quite nicely and sitting in there like that. But what I do first, before I fucking go and spray that, is I always line my grills with black to give them a bit more depth. It's just, I mean, you can just go in with that stuff and then hit it with silver and go yay, but I prefer just giving it a wee line. So I'll do that quickly now. So really, really low pressure, real fine paint. You just want a slight tinge. You don't need much. So very, very fine. I can see it. Just enough to give it a bit of a shadow. Give it a quickly dash with the heat gun to vap it off. I'll stick my perf in. Hit it with the heat gun to soften it so I can mould it. This shit can be used over and over again if you do it this way. Looks relatively straight. There's no need to cut bits out and stick them on and then throw them away. I use squares of the shit. And then once I've got it on there, don't go too heavy with this part because it will bleed. Because you're just kind of resting it on there as a light mask. Make sure it's stuck down and then just give it a quick wee dusting. Doesn't need to be real heavy. Just a quick wee dusting. And we've got some fucking dots. So I am going to change the outside of the grill to silver. And for that I'm just going to cut two wee lines in here around the headlights, where it meets up with the headlights. Just like that. Peel this outside off. Hit it with silver and see what she fucking looks like. Again, I always do 2 coats of silver. Just kind of keeps the silver popping instead of going quite dark. It's quick wee heat gun in between. There's no point putting it in the chamber there. One of the first nights I was actually at this house doing some painting, Temuka's real bad for whitetails, and picked up my heat gun and just done the first layer of paint on a body, picked up my heat gun to give it a quick vap off, plop, out comes this fucking huge whitetail into the centre of my shell. I'm like, the fuck do I do now? Trying to figure out how the fuck I'm going to kill this whitetail that's sitting there crawling around in my shell before it bites me. Let's just say he was enamelled a few times with some clear enamel and stuck on a pike for all the rest of the whitetails as a warning. So that's the silver laid in. Blast on a little bit of backing black. When backing silvers with black, you don't have to go and give it a ridiculous coat. It's just a mist, just to stop any other colours penetrating through, really. And that way it also dries real quick. My headlights these days, I used to do them black and silver, but after checking out Teddy Takashima's ones, like I keep on going on about, he uses white, and so I've been using white for my headlights, black and white. It just makes them pop a little bit more. So I'll get a bit of old cloth, I'll just clean off the line so we can have a look at the grills as they would appear once all the protective stuff's peeled off. Oh yeah. Like I was saying in one of the earlier vids, the mouldings on these new biddy shells are just fucking phenomenal. Everything's just so tightly moulded. There's good lines for you to follow when you're drawing, so it makes doing shit like this really fucking easy. So that's what the grills are going to look like. Try and get some decent fucking, not too much arsehole light. We side grills with black over the top with black splitters. Pretty fucking tight. But yeah, just having the ability to kind of, you know, understand shading, and you can really make things kind of start to pop out. I mean, I quite like that front grill, that looks fucking tight. Pretty choice. Cool, we'll be back once we start doing the pink.